Good morning, class. For today, we will be talking about citation, particularly on how to go about on the American Psychological Association citation format. So this is the most commonly used format when you do your research papers. I would like to remind everyone of your upcoming submission of your Chapter 2 RRL answer grid or the review of related literature answer grid. So again, what you need to be able to do is to get all the 20 or more journal articles, thesis, or dissertation, collect them, put it in a folder, and again, be able to browse over those references. Remember to read the abstract for you to have really an idea if that particular paper fits your research or the study that you're going to be able to conduct. Remember, when you read the abstract, it will let you understand or give you a summary of what you need in the particular research that you're looking for. So the summary, again, will be the key for you to be able to find out whether that particular journal article, thesis, dissertation fits your research. So again, 20 or more journal articles. So what you need to do there is to be able to put it in the answer grid. So in the RL answer grid, it's a table wherein you need to be able to put the names of the authors, when was it published, is it quantitative or qualitative, what are the variables, dependent or independent variables primarily for the quantitative study. The concepts are the main ideas which normally you get only from the title in a qualitative research. And the other parts of it would include, for example, the theoretical or conceptual framework. Now, in the framework, kung hindi kasya dun sa table, you can put it below your table. Maliit lang. You can probably put just a small, cut and paste a small framework, put it below, pero ilagay nyo dun sa table, um, conceptual framework or CF or TF, theoretical framework, see below. If you cannot see a theoretical or conceptual framework in the actual paper, then ilalagay nyo doon no conceptual framework or theoretical framework found. And the rest, no, just be able to fill it out, which is very important because what you will be doing later on. So kapag nakaayos na yan, you're now ready to transform it into the paragraph form. So in the paragraph form, what you will be doing is you'll be doing it in the thematic way, meaning lahat ng mga pare-parehong sinabi ng mga authors, you need to be able to put them together, be able to put one theme like a title, tapos below ano yung sinabi nila. May mga unique authors na very unique ang sinabi. So ang gagawin ninyo is ihiwalay ninyo yon and you'll be able to come up with a theme for that. So ganun yun, the entire process of review of related literature or the literature itself. And towards the end of it would be your synthesis. Yung synthesis is like a summary of all, but not necessarily a summary of all because you need to be able to put there later on the research gaps. Ano yung research gaps? Those are things that may not be found in the literature, which you think is very important. These research gaps are very important in being able to identify the answers later on to your research questions. So that's how you do it. Now you need to submit the RL answer grid by Monday, and most likely siguro baka by Wednesday, I will be collecting already the translated or transform RL answer grid into the paragraph form. Okay, so and then we will talk about how to do your theoretical and conceptual framework. So let's go ahead with in terms of how you'll be going about your citation through the APA format. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible. Okay, so let's start APA citations and integrating resources into your paper. So when you talk about the APA format, it's again the American Psychological Association format. And this is the most commonly used format aside from the MLA format. But some disciplines that use APA include the following. The social sciences, which include psychology, sociology, linguistics, economics, criminology, business, of course, education, and even nursing. Now, there are some particularities of the APA style. It conveys credibility because you need to cite your sources according to the guidelines of the APA. So there is what you call the in-text citations. These are citations that you are going to use when you write the paragraphs, okay, of your literature, and even in your introduction and your background of the study, and the reference pages. Now, the privileges efficiency, write concisely, say as much as you can in as few words as possible. For example, based on the fact that should be rewarded as because. Now, example, period of time is more concisely worded the time. Okay, so parang you be able to use few words to be able to cite a particular information in a reference. Now, the very basics is that all papers are double spaced in Times New Roman, 12-point font with one each margin all around. Okay. Now, all papers should have a title page. For every parenthetical citation, there should be an accompanying reference on the reference page. So this is the example, the running head and the page number. Only the first page will contain the words running head. Now, every subsequent page will have the actual running head, the title in capital letters. In order to have a different covered page, select different first page when creating your header. So there's the title of your paper, your name, and your sponsor association or the school that you're connected with, of course, St. Patrick's School of Quezon City. Normally, as you all know, I'm not yet very strict with this one, but later on in the submissions, I will slowly be able to check the format of your submissions, the hard copies of it. Now, in the abstract, remember the abstract is telling your reader what happened to your research. It's a summary of your research. It's around 150 to 250 words. Normally, it can run as many as 300 to 500 words. Description of what your paper will be able to address or will address. Mention any keywords that will appear throughout your paper. So, kita nyo doon, there are keywords that you can put. This is the abstract. Now, formatting the body, optional heading style. Heading should be, for example, center, bolded, and should use uppercase and the lowercase. The subheading should be, for example, flush left, bolded, and should use the uppercase and lowercase. So there's also the essential in-text citations that is needed. So why cite sources? In research writing, document your sources to make the style consistent for the readers. Para hindi malito sila, no? To give credit where credit is due because you don't own that particular idea. Enhance your credibility as a writer, and most importantly, to avoid plagiarism. Then when should you cite your sources? When you borrow ideas from a source by paraphrasing or summarizing parts of it, lifting keywords or phrases from it, pulling statistics or facts from it, or using information such as the tables, the graphs, or diagrams. If you're unsure, cite the source. Okay, kung hindi ka sure, cite it. And there are mechanisms of styles in italics or quotation marks. Underline or italize. Now, when the work is published on its own or takes over 2 hours to read or watch, for example, the book title, newspaper title, movie title, album title, the magazine title. Put in quotations the title naming something that is part of a larger work. Okay? Kunyari, book chapter ba yan, newspaper article, and etc. So this is very important, the in-text citations or direct quotes that you get to do in your actual paper. So all APA in-text citations must somehow include the following: the name of the authors, the year of publication, and a page or paragraph number. For example, in in-text citation, Rumbog 1995 reported that, okay, Kansas comprehension of over 600 novel sentences of request was very comparable to alias. Okay, so open parenthesis, P point or page number 722, close parenthesis, then the period. So the entry on the references pages, example nito, Rumbog D 1995, okay, the primate language and cognition, the common ground, social research 62, 701 to 730. Ito yung reference page at towards the end of your paper. Okay, so even if the information is not a direct quotation, you must cite the information, data, and findings that are not your own. Now, must still include the name of the author or authors, and the year of publication. So not necessarily to include the page numbers if stating the theme, general idea of a whole article or study. Example, though feminist studies focus solely on women's experiences, they err by collectively perpetuating the masculine-centered impression. Fossil, 1975. Now, other two or more authors, when referring to two or more authors within your text, write out the word "and." For example, research by let's say Kadapan and Dakanay 2018 supported that pedagogy should be an effort between the teachers and administrators. Now, for the parenthetical citation, use an ampersand and instead of and. For example, let's say Kadapan and Dakanay, 2021, page 567. And then when referring to a study with 3 to 5 authors, so you have to name all the authors the first time, okay? Use et al. All subsequent times, okay? Now, when referring to a study with 6 or more authors, use the first author's name followed by et al. Okay, kunyari, yan, Dance et al. Period, 1984. Okay? So again, pinagkaiba yung pagka 3 to 5 authors, name all the authors, okay, the first time. Now, in-text citations with a known author. Okay, so one method is that use the source full title in the single phrase, include the year of publication in parentheses, for example, according to Manalad, okay, according to title pala to. Let's say according to and I'm just thinking of a title, no? According to Eleazar, Eleazar, Matatag, let's say Eleazar Matatag Communications, okay, 2022, okay. So alternative method in parentheses include the first word of the title and the year of publication. Okay, again, include the first word of the title and the year of publication. Let's say, yun nga, sinabi ko kanina, Mateo Matatag Communication. Kunyari, yung first name is, yung sinabi ko kanina sa title, Mateo, then put open parenthesis, okay? Then you put there Mateo, okay, then 2008. So in-text citations, online sources. For online sources, follow similar format used for print media. Okay, for direct quotation, Butler, 2000 for that's for indirect. For direct naman, you have to put the page number. You see the difference. Now for online sources that contain number page number or the number page number, use heading paragraphs number or both. Kunyari, Butler, 2000, paragraph number 2, or Butler 2000, the labels ended paragraph number 2. So don't worry, no, you will get used to it in terms of citations. It might not be perfect, okay, but I will understand because you're just starting your doing your research. So talagang magkakamali when you're doing your APA format. So in-text citations, the long quotes, when quoting 40 or more words, create block quotations. Indenting 5 spaces from the left, now typing the rest of the quotation of the new margin, double spacing throughout, omitting quotation marks, placing the parenthetical citation after the closing punctuation mark. So ito yung example na long quotes, no? Yeah. Desmond 2000 described how Washoe tried signing to other apes when the gardeners returned her to an ape colony in Oklahoma. Ayan. This shows that blah, blah, blah. So in-text citations, you can use secondary sources. Ito yung sa newspapers, magazines, online, okay? Online sources sa mga webpage ng webpage, let's say, of a network, magazine, and others. Sometimes your source will cite someone else's work. When you want to use the second-hand information, you must give credit to both sources. Use the phrase as cited in. Example, Mike Enriquez investigation as cited in, let's say, Aurelio, 2021, found that people in Quezon City, blah, blah, blah. This in-text citation means that you learned about Mike Enriquez's investigation directly using Atom Arroyo's text. Now, you can alter a quotation. You may want to add information to provide extra context or background for your quotation. This is fine as you don't alter the meaning of the quote. So use a square bracket to denote what information you want to add to the quotation. Say for 2001 noted that Premac, okay, so meron kang square bracket, okay. A scientist at the University of Pennsylvania, close bracket, taught blah, blah, blah. Now, you may want to omit unnecessary or extraneous information from a quotation. Make sure that this omission will not alter the original meaning of the text. So use an ellipsis to show where you left out words from the original text. So this is the example. Now, references pages formatting, no? References should be put in the middle part. Ito yung sa last part nyo, no? Na kailangan nyo ilagay lahat ng makuha yung references. References. May S yun. Centered at the top of the page, authors listed in alphabetical orders by the last name of the first author in the study. First line of the reference is flush against the left margin. Kita niyo yun, no? Yeah. Subsequent lines are indented, hanging indent, and double spaced throughout. Now include the following information in this order. Okay. Author last name, first initial, date of publication, title, subtitle, capitalize the first letter, city, ST of the publication, publisher. Example. Yeah. That's the example. Highmore, B period, open parenthesis 2001, close parenthesis period. The title of the reference, Everyday Life and Culture Theory. The where was it published? New York, or Routledge. Okay, is the publisher. Okay, so referencing articles. Normally ito yung makikita doon pag kinuha nyo online. Author last name, first initial, date of publication, type of article is not italicized and is without quotation marks, name of periodical capitalized and italicized, volume, issue, page number, and also the DOI, or the URL, which is http url.com. This is the example. So referencing online sources for a web page would include the following. So sundan nyo mabuti kung paano to, because this is very important. Now, integrating sources. Why is it important to incorporate sources effectively? It builds credibility with the reader. It provides a paper or argument with necessary support that helps prove your thesis, and it provides a factual basis for your argument. So it demonstrates a certain level of effort and scholarship from the writer. So incorporating the sources, number one, step one, understand the source strengths and limitation, the multi-step process, read your assignment carefully so that you understand what you're being asked to do, select the appropriate sources for your argument or your paper, think about what role your sources will play in your argument, okay, and decide whether to summarize, paraphrase, or quote directly to the source. Now, tips for choosing your source. When selecting and using sources, do not forget that this is your paper, not the source paper. So when selecting sources, do not merely read the abstract and decide to use a source. Do not ignore a source because it disapproves your argument. Now, questions to ask when evaluating the online sources: who wrote the source? Is the author listed? And if so, do they have credibility problems? Number two, integrating the source into your writing framing. So frame a source in introducing the source in your own words and giving a brief analysis. That's why the RRL answer grid will hopefully be able to help you out. Now, this gives the reader an idea of the purpose of the source in your paper and a transition from your ideas to support provided by the source. Now, this should occur throughout the document, starting with the topic sentence. Okay? Example, Mandelbaum's historiography of Major League Baseball can prove useful to a creation and utilization of symbolic capital in the National Basketball Association. So there are signal phrases. They are introductory clauses that signals to the reader a shift in point of view from you and to your source. And they are like transitions for sources. Example, Celeste Jones notes the apparent contradiction in the existing literature. Okay? O kaya argues, you may use the following words, no? Argues, notes, observes, acknowledges, suggests, addresses. Importante ito, yung mga signal phrases that would eventually make a transition in writing your paragraph. So quoting and paraphrasing. So quoting using or copying words from a source such as a book with acknowledgement of the source. Paraphrasing, restatement of a text or a passage in another form in other words, with acknowledgement of the source. Okay. So why do we paraphrase? This is very important because it is better than quoting information from an undistinguished passage. It helps you control the temptation to quote too much. Eh, baka puro quotation na lang yun, no? So you can paraphrase. Now, okay, for example, no, think about this one, in-text citation and a reference to the following quote. Both cities have a documented movement of middle-class residents on ever widening outer ring of SARS from page 37. So authored by Zeta M. Law, excerpted from an article entitled The Edge, and published in 2001 in the 5th volume of the American Anthropologist. Okay, so both cities have a documented movement. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Yun, kita niyo yung in-text citation. Or, pwede kayong gumamit ng according to. Yan. So this is the reference. Okay, so let me give you another example. Let me share screen again. I'll be giving you this sample essay for your reference. Let me just end my screen. Okay, and other hopefully examples of the APA format to help you in your later on translating your RL grid into the paragraph form. Okay, so I think that's it for our meeting for this morning. Please wait for the lectures that I'll be sending in the Facebook Messenger and the other important lectures for the APA format. So thank you very much for listening. Bye.